In today's presentation, we will talk about the impact of environmental laws on companies. This is the index, and our team is composed by Nicolás Alzugaray, Matias Fernandez, and Fiechter. We will start with the introduction. Environmental laws have played a critical role in regulating the impact of business operations on the environment. In the United States, environmental laws are enacted and enforced at the federal, state, and local levels. These laws set forth specific requirements and regulations that businesses must obey in order to ensure that their activities do not harm the environment or endanger public health. So this conversation about protecting the environment began in America in the 1960s, as the country experienced a growing awareness of environmental issues, such as air and water pollution, deforestation, and the detrimental impact of industrialization on natural habitats. Before that, businesses throughout the United States contaminated the environment through their operations. There were few regulations in place to restrict the release of pollutants and waste into the air, water, and land, and companies were often able to operate without regard for the impact of their activities on the environment. Many businesses, particularly those in the manufacturing and industrial sectors, released large quantities of toxic pollutants into the air and water, causing significant harm to human health and natural habitats. This pollution included chemicals such as lead, mercury, and PCBs, which are known to be harmful to human health and the environment. After decades of contamination, concerns about air and water pollution had spread in the wake of disaster. Also around that time, the 1960s, astronauts had begun photographing the Earth from space, opening the eyes of the people to realize that Earth's resources are limited. On January 1 of 1970, as a result of growing public concerns about the environment, the president at the time, Richard Nixon, signed the National Environmental Policy Act, beginning the 1970s as the environmental decade. Later in that year, President Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency, also known as the EPA, which consolidated environmental programs from other agencies into a single entity. After conducting hearings during that summer, the House and Senate approved the proposal. The agency's first administrator, William Ruckelshaus, took the oath of office on December 4, 1970. The EPA started to regulate businesses around the country in the following ways: setting environmental standards, issuing permits, conducting inspections, conducting investigations, providing technical assistance, and filing lawsuits. In more recent years, the EPA has also increasingly focused on addressing climate change, with regulations aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and promoting the use of renewable energy sources. Additionally, the EPA has expanded its enforcement efforts using a range of tools, including fines, penalties, and legal action, to hold businesses accountable for environmental violations. Overall, the EPA's policies on businesses have evolved significantly over the past 50 years, with a greater emphasis on collaboration and prevention, rather than solely punitive measures. Among the most impactful environmental regulations in the United States are the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. The Clean Air Act, passed in 1970 and amended in 1990, regulates the emission of harmful pollutants such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide from industrial facilities, power plants, and vehicles. The Clean Water Act, passed in 1972 and amended in 1977, establishes standards for the discharge of pollutants into navigable waters and aims to protect the nation's water resources. The Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, passed in 1976, governs the disposal of hazardous waste and promotes the reduction, reuse, and recycling of materials. These regulations have played a crucial role in improving the quality of the air and water in the United States, and have also protected public health and, of course, the environment.
But how have these laws impacted the businesses around the United States? As the world faces growing concerns about climate change and environmental degradation, governments have been imposing stricter regulations on businesses in order to reduce their negative impact on the environment. While some industries have faced challenges in adapting to the new regulations, others have found opportunities for growth and innovation. Many discuss how these regulations have affected businesses. The fact is, there's a trade-off between complying with environmental laws and the costs associated with compliance. Compliance can require significant equipment, technology, and personal investments, which can impact a business's competitiveness and profitability. Environmental regulations raise production costs and lower productivity by requiring firms to install pollution control equipment and change the production processes. The expansion of government regulation in the 1970s coincided with a slowdown in productivity growth in U.S. manufacturing industries, raising speculation that regulations had been contributed to the productivity slowdown. Pollution abatement costs have also had a significant impact on the business productivity. When a company spends money on pollution abatement, it increases its measures inputs, but the resulting improvement in environmental quality is not counted as an output, resulting in a decline in measured productivity. The reduction in productivity is roughly equivalent to the share of pollution abatement costs in total costs. Another way in which environmental laws have affected businesses across the country is in the impact it has on the location decision of firms. If regulations are more stringent in a particular jurisdiction, it may discourage some firms from locating there. This could also lead to a race to the bottom in environmental stringency, where politicians weaken regulations to attract new plants. Conversely, if pollutants damages are more locally concentrated than the benefits of the new plant, politicians could impose increasingly stricter regulations, leading to a race to the top. Environmental regulations can also affect investment decisions by firms, with plants facing greater regulatory stringency potentially being less profitable. Additionally, regulations may require substantial capital investments in abatement equipment, reducing the financing available for investments in the production capital. Finally, environmental regulations can affect the choice of production technology, with firms choosing cleaner and presumably more expensive technologies at plants facing more stringent regulation. Some pros. However, research argues that environmental regulations can also create opportunities for businesses, as they may lead to improved environmental performance, increased efficiency, and enhanced reputation and stakeholder trust. The matter is how businesses respond to environmental regulations. Some businesses may choose to adopt technologies that reduce their environmental impacts, such as energy-efficient equipment or renewable energy sources. Others may change their production processes or shift their operations to locations with more lenient regulations. Research suggests that businesses that are proactive in adopting environmentally friendly practices may benefit from the improved environmental performance, reduced compliance costs, and increased market demand for environmentally responsible products and services. For instance, regulations aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions have spurred the ZF development of renewable energy sources, creating new markets for companies that specialize in solar and wind power. Similarly, regulations that require companies to reduce the use of toxic chemicals have led to the development of safer alternatives, providing opportunities for companies that specialize in the production of eco-friendly products. Some examples of companies in the United States that have been impacted positively or negatively by environmental laws. One American business that has been greatly affected is Tesla. The company has been positively affected by these regulations as they have created a favorable market for electric cars. Regulations such as corporate average fuel economy and the zero-emission vehicle mandate have incentivized automakers to produce more electric cars, leading to a surge in demand for Tesla's products. However, the company has also been affected negatively by environmental regulations, particularly in regards to its production processes. Tesla has faced numerous environmental violations in recent years, including air and water quality violations in California. These violations have resulted in hefty fines and increased scrutiny from regulatory bodies. Tesla agreed to pay a $275,000 penalty. Tesla has been a key player in the electric vehicle industry since 2003. The company has greatly benefited from environmental laws and regulations in the U.S. In 2009, the American Recovery and Reinvested Act provided funding for clean energy products, including a $465 million loan to Tesla to help launch the Model S sedan. This loan was provided through the Department of Energy's Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Program, which has created to support the development of energy-efficient vehicles. In addition to financial support, Tesla has also benefited from governmental regulations aimed at reducing emissions and promoting clean energy. The Environmental Protection Agency has implemented stricter emissions standards for vehicles, which has increased the demand for electric vehicles like those produced by Tesla. In 2020, the EPA updated its greenhouse gas emission standards for cars and trucks, requiring automakers to improve fuel efficiency and reduce emissions. This regulation is expected to further benefit Tesla as the company's electric vehicles produce zero tailpipe emissions. Tesla's commitment to sustainability and renewable energy has also helped the company to thrive in a market where the environmental concerns are becoming increasingly important to consumers. According to a 2020 study, a survey by Consumer Reports, Tesla has the top-rated automaker for environmental friendliness, with 73% of respondents saying that they're associated with the brand with being environmentally responsible. Tesla's use of renewable energy in its production facilities and its investment in energy storage systems have further solidified the company's reputation as a leader in the sustainable transportation. Another American business that has been greatly affected by these environmental laws is ExxonMobil. The company has been negatively affected by these regulations as they have increased the cost of doing business. ExxonMobil has been subject to numerous fines and penalties for environmental violations, including a $20 million fine in 2020 for violating the Clean Air Act. Additionally, the regulations such as Renewable Fuel Standard have forced the company to reinvest in renewable fuels and reduce its carbon emissions, which has resulted in significant costs for the company. However, ExxonMobil has also been positively affected by these regulations, as the company has been able to leverage its expertise in oil and gas to develop the new technologies for renewable energy production. In recent years, the company has invested in renewable energy projects such as wind and biofuels, which have the potential to offset some of the negative impacts of its core business.
So, in conclusion, we can say that environmental regulations have evolved significantly over the past 50 years in the United States, with a greater emphasis on collaboration and prevention rather than solely punitive measures. The impact of environmental regulations on businesses is complex and multifaceted. Compliance with regulations can be costly, requiring significant investment in equipment, technology, and personnel, which can affect competitiveness and profitability. Additionally, environmental regulations can lead to reduced productivity, higher production costs, and a potential decline in measured productivity due to the investment in pollution abatement. Moreover, businesses may be discouraged from locating in jurisdictions with more strict regulations or may face reduced profitability due to the need for capital investments in abatement equipment. However, research suggests that businesses can benefit from environmental regulations by adopting environmentally friendly practices that improve environmental performances, reduce compliance costs, and meet the increasing market demand for eco-friendly products and services. To sum up, environmental regulations have both pros and cons for businesses, and how businesses respond to these regulations is crucial in determining the ultimate impact.